Hello and welcome. Today we would like to talk on meditations on friendship and friend. So, what is a friend? What is friendship? What is a real friend, a true friend, and what is real friendship? We would like to only talk about this in a sense of meditations, meaning that we will not fully explore the topic. We will simply posit some ideas and suggestions that may us bring us closer to the idea of friendship. So we try to understand what is friendship, the form of friendship, the ideal, the concept and principle of friendship. Previously, we've talked about love, suffering, the good, and I think that friendship is closely tied to all of these. So, we've also talked about the different types of love that there are, such as love to a friend, love to a romantic partner, love to the father and mother, love to the child, and love to all living beings. So, friendship falls into that idea of love, and we would like to explore a little bit what kind of facets and qualities are needed in order to call something a good friendship. So, first, I would like to look at a sort of dictionary entry, or rather, an etymology, where we find that friendship comes apparently from words that have to do with love, friend, and very originally in the Proto-Indo-European language, it seems to be that of love freely. So, love freely, we can ask ourselves what it means, but one idea is that we love freely in the sense that we are not bound by other factors that inhibit how we can love and what we love. So, therefore, a friend is someone whom we choose to love. And we love because we decide that we love this person, not because we are forced to love them. Now, there is one of the oldest stories in our recorded history is the Epic of Gilgamesh. So this is a very ancient epic that was written more than 5,000 years ago that deals with friendship primarily. So it deals with the king Gilgamesh and the friendship he has to Enkidu, his best friend, how they slay demons and monsters and go on adventures together and meditate on life in a sense through their adventures. So, friendship is something that has fascinated philosophers, thinkers, and many people since ancient times. And many great people, such as Aristoteles, so Aristotle, and other thinkers such as Confucius in China, have meditated and contemplated on the idea of friendship. Friendship comes up in almost every second story that we can think of. For example, in the story of Hamlet, where Hamlet has his friend Horatio, I think it was, who is almost the only figure that is not overcome by intrigue, from what we remember, right? So, friendship seems to have to do with honesty. If we are not honest to our friends, how can we truly love them and call them our friends or call ourselves a friend? So, we need to be able to reflect reality and reflect our friend to them back. Now, obviously, honesty can hurt, but a friend doesn't have to hurt their friend willingly. Rather, they can put it into words so that the truth can be communicated, even if it is hurtful, but in a way that makes it less hurtful. And I think we can learn most of our flaws from our friends because they tend to know us best and they have insight into us and we share ourselves with them. Therefore, honesty is a very, very important and valuable tool with which we can reflect better on ourselves by having friends who do that for us. So, honesty, however, also needs some sort of interest in the other person. And this interest has to do with being truly interested in who the other person is. So we cannot call it real love if we are not interested in the other person. Now, friendship also needs kindness. We need to be kind to each other. We need to figure out how to support each other and how to lift ourselves and each other up so that we experience a comfortable and a cozy and a warm atmosphere, so that we experience a supportive and a positive environment with our friends. Friendship has to do with many virtues, not just honesty and kindness, but also integrity, justice, and many others. So we could list a lot of attributes here, a lot of concepts, and a lot of virtues, but we will not do that. Rather, I think it is important that people recognize the values and the virtues that they find to be important to friendship by examining their friendships and by examining themselves and figuring out what it is that makes other people want to be engaged with us and why they see us as a friend. Friendship has everything to do with love. So only if we truly love can we call ourselves a friend to someone. So love, as we've stated previously, is not that which you gain something from, that is desire and attachment, but that which we give. So by loving, we give, through desire, we take and we gain. Rather, we take and we expect. But love does not expect. Love is simply a state of perfect peace of mind and peace of heart. And with this love, we can establish strong bonds to people whom we consider to be friends and who will also be engaging with us in a friendship relationship. Friendship has to do with forgiveness. So only by forgiving each other can a friendship grow. And we always make mistakes, we always have our shortcomings, we have our weaknesses, and we have our issues. And a friend will be the person who forgives us, even for grave or misdemeanors and sins, so to speak. Now, there are always limits to everything, but ideally, the ideal friend will try to forgive wherever they can. And forgiveness has a lot to do with love and a lot to do with acceptance and respect. Good friends need to have time for each other. It is very essential that we can rely on the other person being around so that we foster and grow and strengthen our friendship, our bond, our relationship with another person through spending time together and interacting with them. So, through that, we develop the friendship and we can better figure it out, similar to polishing a stone and revealing the diamond inside of it and bringing out its true beauty. But it needs time and effort, and it can often be very difficult as well. So, good friendships have to do with quality and quantity, but also with time. So, time makes a friendship grow. The quantity of how much we put into it makes it grow, and the quality in understanding what we put into it also makes it grow. Now, friendship also has to do with sacrificing oneself. So, only through sacrifice can we uphold friendships. If someone needs something, we need to step back for a second, look at the situation, and be there for them, to support them. Similarly, if we need something and our friend cannot give us that, we need to step back for a moment, observe the situation, and sacrifice some of our own needs. So, in a true friendship, we can say that it has to do with sacrifice of freedoms, liberties, of ego, of the gain that we may feel we need or want, of desires, and of things that uphold our structure, where we tend to get lost by giving up ourselves for the other. And it's very difficult, and I would say that we can see this in many people and in friendships that they tend to be very clingy to their own needs and have difficulties letting go of them because ultimately nobody seems to want to give up themselves and sacrifice themselves for another. And it is a virtue that is sadly seldomly practiced a lot in our today's world, and which many people have also commented on and lamented, but which is one that is absolutely fundamental to all kinds of human relationships, especially friendship and love. We also need to care first about the other and then care about ourselves. Now, some people may argue that we first need to take care of ourselves before we take care of others, but the sacrificial act of first making sure that others have what they need before we tend to ourselves establishes a very different framework. It is one that is opposed to the individualistic and egoistical type of society, where first we look for ourselves and once we are satisfied, we can start looking for friends, which is very hostile towards friendship and love. However, if we look at it the other way around, where first we look for others and then we look for our own needs, we need others more in the sense that they will be one of the reasons why we are satisfied. Not because first we grasp all the things around us in desire to fulfill us, but because friends are those who really satisfy us. And rather being poor but having good friends than being rich and having no friends, which is sort of the dichotomy between a civilization that values friendship above all and our civilization that values egoistical desire and fulfillment above all. We also need to ask about one's state. We need to ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What do you need? What is it that you truly require to be happy? Are you happy? And we need to ask these questions regularly and make sure that the other person understands that we are there. And similarly, having this reciprocity where the other person also will then ask, how are you doing? So that is one of those qualities that we can observe. Some people do this more than others. Some people really would ask every day, how are you doing? And they would ask all of their friends, how are you doing? First making sure that everyone is doing well before they start their day. Whereas others will never really ask this question. And that can also be a sign of a sort of lack of something when people cannot ask this question and cannot develop the love for other people and the interest that comes with it. So when people do not have this idea, this impulse, this craving to know how the other is doing. So that has become obviously a cliche, a sort of habit in our society that we greet each other like this. So this is a greeting ritual. We say, hello, how are you doing? So first the hello is signaling that we recognize the other person as existing and that we come in peace. And then the how are you doing signals that we care about the other person. So we are interested in them and we approach them with love. However, when was the last time that we really felt the meaning behind how are you doing? How are you really feeling? I really want to know how you feel right now. Friends are here to make us grow as a person. So through friends, we engage in various mythological theater inside of us And also in philosophical growth, we grow in love, we grow in strength, we grow in wisdom through the interaction to those friends. So friends make us grow and they make us become more who we really are. They make us reflect ourselves, excuse me, and they make us understand ourselves better, as well as the world. Friends are here to support us in life's difficulties. So friends can be seen as an extension of ourself. Just like we have arms and legs and a brain, we can say that a friend is one more of these additional excuse me, limbs or organs that is part of us, that is here to help us grow and deal with life's difficulties. And by integrating them into us and into our life, into our world, we become more of a person than we were without these friends. However, that also means that we need to treat them with the love and the dignity and the respect that we should also show to our own body. Friends also go on adventures together. So we go through hardship, difficulties, issues, and we go through exciting things together. We experience things together. We may go on holidays, we may work together, we may study together, we may have creative outlets that where we express ourselves together in, and we may simply undergo hobbies together. So pastime and leisure, where we will grow together as two people by facing difficulties or perceived playful difficulties. So sort of fake difficulties and imaginative difficulties by tackling them together. That is also why play and games are very important for people to grow together, because we undergo a psychological ritual in which we overcome difficulties together and we get to understand each other better in how the other person reacts in these situations. Similarly, watching movies together, reading books together, is something where we then understand better how we look at a life situation and can discuss this to better understand how we each would behave in such a situation, where our values, our judgment, and our ideas lie, and how this other person will be dealing with us in life situations. Happiness and humor are very important in friendship. So we try to share our happiness with others. We try to make others be a part of our happiness so that we share what we gain, we share with others. So if we gain a lot of food suddenly, then we want to share that. We want to give so that others can also enjoy this food that we get. If we experience some other great happiness, such as, for example, from learning something new, we also want others to be a part of this. We want to share it. We want to tell them what we've learned so that they may grow as well and that they may have more ability to tackle life in their own right. So, this happiness is one that where we should or will be happy for the happiness of others, not because we gain something from it, but because we love this other person. Humor is also a therapy. It's psychological, it's psychotherapy that is experienced socially, where we undergo stress and we relieve stress together in a simulated environment such that we can deal with our emotions and with thoughts better and with life's concepts and difficulties. So humor is something very therapeutic. It's a very intrinsic and automatic and instinctive way in which we therapize ourselves and heal and can build up our resistances. And by doing this with others, not only does it increase the effect of this, but also it increases social connectivity. So we rely on the other better and we can process shared pain. Intimacy is very important so that we share spiritual, mystical, intellectual, and emotional closeness, not just hovering around each other, like the earth revolves around the sun or like some leaves dancing in the wind. We want to be closely connected to others and we want to have a meaningful connection to them. We want to have mystical connectivity to them and we want to spiritually grow together as people so that we become a part of each other's inner cosmos and we help each other grow in their spiritual personality, in their person. We also want to, in true friendship, give each other the safety in being able to express themselves without restrictions and fears. So that, for example, I can tell you what I think, I can tell you what I feel, I can also tell you dark secrets, and I can tell you what I really want to criticize about you. I can tell you very controversial opinions, and all of this will not be a risk for the reason for having a problem in our relationship. So this safety that we establish and this trust is one in which we can fully be ourselves, which we cannot be with any other person, with other people, but only with our friends. So for that, we need to establish good foundation, trust, communication, and we need to make sure that the other person can come to us with unpopular ideas and feelings, and we gently take them up, take them in, and we take care of them without judging or without turning away or without coldness and without prejudice. Friendship needs discussions. So, as human beings, we are beings which live from communication, whether it is with our bodies or with a medium such as writing or painting, or through our words where we speak. So these words are very essential to build friendship and to foster it, to tend to it. And we need to feed this friendship daily or presumably daily, depending on the friendship and also the stage in the friendship, to be able to establish a good foundation. And this comes largely with discussions. Now, they don't have to be intellectual discussions, they can be discussions about anything. And they should also have a good variety in them, just like the food that we consume, that's not too one sided. And we experience different facets of the other person and we see their different sides through these discussions and through communication and conversation with them. A friend can appreciate sadness and pain and suffering. So a friend is someone who will be there for us when things are not looking correctly. When things are gloomy, when things are dark, when we are in pain, when they are in pain, they will be here and they will not turn away, they will not judge, but they will be similar to a kind mother or father. They will be here to take care of the problem with us in a supportive manner. Now, they are not a therapist, they are not a mother or father, but they still are part of the network of social support and of social healing and of social kindness, where a friend will rather hear bad news than no news at all. So I have heard previously that apparently for each bad action that occurs in a friendship, there need to be five good actions again to be able to establish a sort of happiness in the friendship. Now, this seems to be more scientific research, but I do wonder just what kind of friendships those are if they are so dependent on just good feelings. Because again, friendships that undergo difficulties may obviously be difficult to deal with, but the love that we experience for another and that we have and feel is still one that should be able to deal with difficulties, and which is something that is the a founding or building block of a society, that we are here for each other in difficult times and that we also experience difficulties together to grow together and as a community in a society and as a nation. Friendship needs a lot of trust and faith in each other. That's something we've already established. And we need to be able to show our true selves and be vulnerable. So we need to take off the mask, we need to get rid of our persona, and we need to show them who we really are inside. So that means all of these layers that come when we interact with the outside world and in which we build some kind of false identity need to get dismantled so that we can communicate ourselves properly with the other person. And only through that do we also see that the other person is vulnerable, that they are a true person, a real person, and that we can share difficulties. Because if we don't show our own dark side, if we don't show our difficult sides, then the other person cannot connect to us truly. And we need to be able to show ourselves in order for the other person to connect to us on a deeper level, so that we can also overcome difficulties and support each other in them. We are also in friendship here for each other to challenge each other, so to make each other become a better person. And that can be in various ways. For example, through discussion, it can be by undergoing hardship together, it can be by criticizing each other, and I think there are various other ways in which we challenge each other daily or just every once then. And this challenging of each other leads to development of the self. Now, there is also the question of, well, friendship, family, what is the difference between family and friendship? We will not go too deeply into that, but we can say one or two things quickly. Namely, that a family is that which distances the outside world from the inside world. So it has group belonging, where some people belong to the family and others don't, which we may say is a bit different in friendship. We can say that we still welcome and accept other friends into this friendship, whereas a family may have more strict rules for how to become part of the family. Also, family is something we don't choose, unless, of course, we talk about extended family, where we say that you are like a brother to me, you are like a sister to me, you are like a father, a mother, a son, or daughter to me. Then we can say that family is also something we choose, and which is maybe a progression of friendship. At some point, we will then talk about brothers and sisters and equal love for everyone. Friends need to be reliable for each other. So we need to be able to rely on them in many situations. For example, when we don't feel good, when they don't feel good, we need to be able to rely on them being the best that they are and supporting each other during those hard times and in difficulties and in hardship. Friendship increases health and improves psychological health and well-being and welfare. So it has apparently been shown in many studies that people who have good friendships also have longer life expectancy, from what I've remember, and that the one of the highest causes of mental and physical distress and stress and the lack of health is that of loneliness. So when we don't have the right friends and family. And again, family, if we go by one of those definitions and words, we can say that family we cannot choose, we cannot really do a lot about family, but friendships are something that we can foster, we can find friends, we can develop friendships, we can grow them, we can grow friendships. And as such, it is important to our physical and mental well being that we have friends and we have great friends. Friends also need to share and ask. So it is important that we do both. That we, on one side, ask, how are you doing? But on the other side, we also say, hey, today I'm feeling good. Today I'm feeling bad. This is how I feel today. Now, it may be said that it is a great virtue if someone never has to come to us and say how they're feeling, because we always ask first. We are always interested enough that nobody has to impose this interest on us. So nobody has to come and say, hey, in case you're interested, or hey, look, I want you to be interested, or hey, look, for your interest, I'm feeling like this, or this happened, or this is going on, so that the person always asks in time because they're interested enough that they will then already know how the other person is doing, what's going on, and what is new in their life. Now, because not everyone does that, we need to share ourselves. We need to talk about things that go on in our lives, inside and outside. And even if people don't ask all the time, we need to present ourselves, we need to express ourselves so that both people have the right view of reality. For example, one way in which this could be dangerous and unhelpful if we don't do it and detrimental is that, let us say that someone is having a bad day and they depend on the other person. So by coming to them and then not getting the understanding that they need, they will get frustrated and angry, and they will lose trust and hope in the friendship. However, if that person had known that the other person, their friend, is currently going through the same problem and therefore cannot be there for them, then this anger and this frustration may go away or not be strong at all. So we need to tell each other how we're doing so that we do not surprise each other in those mismatches and in misunderstandings and in unfortunate constellations and situations like these. And many other reasons, but that is one of the reasons where it is important that we communicate ourselves such that we understand where the other person is at the moment and that we can better organize our lives together. Friendship is not for benefit, although there are ideas of friendship that are based on mutual benefit. So, for example, we find someone as a friend because they also like to do the same sport that we do, or because they can help us with something. Then we say that we have a friendship, but we don't necessarily say that with true friendship where we have love for each other, which does not require a benefit in order for us to love them and to be in a friendship. Friendship is also and can be based on the admiration of each other's qualities. So when we have a quality that the other person doesn't have as strongly developed, or that the other person simply values greatly, then we are becoming sort of the embodiment of this idea and this quality, this virtue, this strength for the other person. And they will continue to learn from us. They will grow through being with us in absorbing the teachings of this quality. So, for example, if there is a friend who is always very honest, and we often have these friends where we say, oh, this friend, they're always very honest, or this friend is very good about caring for us, or that friend is very good about their intelligence. So we would say that we constantly keep growing by having this friend because we can observe an embodied manifestation, we can observe a sort of avatar of these ideas and ideals in the human world that exhibits these ideas and virtues, similar to how we see and orientate ourselves towards Jesus Christ or other figures like Jesus, where ideas, virtues, and concepts are embodied in them, in their behavior, or the Prophet Muhammad in Islam, who is said to be the perfect human being with all of the virtues and qualities and strengths. So, having these friends, we learn about these qualities, we try to develop them as well, and they can teach us to develop these qualities. And it brings about a certain awe, admiration, respect, love, and interest when we see that in someone else. There seems to also be a moral duty to find and tend to friends. So that is something that I've heard from other philosophers, but we can imagine that there is also moral duty because friendship is a building block of society. So by having good friendships, we foster and improve and increase the social network that exists in society, where we do not exist as separated individuals, but where togetherness can take place, establish, and form, and where people are not left to the fringe of society and but are integrated, and where the network of society becomes stronger because there are good friendships. A friendship is also the only relationship that is equal. So, for example, the relationship to the parent is one that is unequal because one side desires and the other side gives. The relationship to the own child is exactly the same. So the friendship and the relationship to a romantic partner is also one of desiring, giving, and getting. But the friend is really the only relationship that is that of equality without the need to gain or desire. Friends take on the suffering of each other. So we are here to sort of absorb suffering of the other, especially when we are doing well enough to do that. And then in turn, when we are feeling bad, others will take on our suffering in order to balance out the the microcosm of society, of the network and the kinship or the network of this and webbing of this friendship group. We cannot, however, be equal if we compare with attributes. So, for instance, if we say that, oh, my friend is older, there may be already ideas of a sort of reverent, sort of revering characteristic to this friendship, where the younger has to revere the older, and the older has sort of authority and power and might over the younger. When age would be the same, there can be a difference in gender, and we can say that there as well we have problems because the relationship between genders can be associated with romantic relationships and therefore couldn't be equal. If the other person is of a different ethnicity or nationality or religion, then there is again a problem with the interests. So once we stop comparing and looking at each other as attributes, then we can have true friendship. And that can exist to other figures as well, such as our siblings, our parents, and so on and so forth, where we can also be friends with them to a certain degree. We also want to be interested in each other's lives. So it is essential that friendship lives from interest in each other, and where we care about how the other person is doing, where we care about what are they doing, what are they interested in, and get fascinated by what they are fascinated about. It is also very interesting to say that if we look at the idea of friendship throughout history, many cultures seem to have had much stronger ideas of friendship with regards to what people are willing to do for friends. So people would actually turn down offers to work at another place for a little bit more money because then they couldn't be with their friends because they had to move away. People would want to move to the same location together so that they could remain with their friends. And they would give up many other things that today we would never think of giving up. And this strikes me as very saddening. And I lament this when we observe that truly today we are in a society that doesn't value friendship at all. And it's become less and less over the times, over the last decades, where we see that friendships sort of degrade into this quality of simply counting names in our head or on our phones, on social media, and examples like that, and things like this. So it is truly sad to think that we don't do a lot for our friends anymore. We usually want to simply establish our own private life, and then friends somehow have to find a way into this life, and if they don't, we don't consider them to be friends anymore, instead of working together and establishing lives together as a group, as a union, as a society. Friendship knows the we, not the I and you. So that is also something where the real love in friendship does not anymore know about the I, me, and my, but it knows about us, we, and our. So that is a shift in how we perceive and how our attitude is towards things, especially to this friend, that we do not talk about our own things, but about the things that we share together. Today, we live in a very individualistic society, very individualistic. So, as I said before, we do not treat friends very well anymore. We do not treat union and companionship a lot with a lot of worth. Everyone simply wants to take care of themselves, wants to establish a life, wants to work, and wants to establish a lot of money and objects. Then they want to find a house or an apartment that they can live in. And then they collect one by one these things, sort of like objects that they buy in a store. So they buy this house, they buy this car, they buy this job, they buy this, let's say, this cat or dog or an animal, a pet. Then they buy a husband or a wife, and then they buy these other friends that they simply collect out of a selection and try to keep around them, sort of like decoration in a living room, which is a very, very sad view to see society devolving. One other problem is marriage. When we, in our societies, this may depend still on countries, but in the Western societies, we conflate the idea of friendship into the marriage and into one person, so that the married partner has to be everything for us. They have to be the mother, the father, the daughter, the son. They have to be the brother, sister. They have to be the best friend, and they have to be our teacher, and everyone in one person, which is an entirely unhealthy and unsustainable way to treat one person, obviously. So, in that, I've seen before, sadly, that there are many people who will actually disregard friendship because they believe that they find all of these ideas of friendship in their romantic partner, and they do not have any need for these ideas anymore in other people, which is a conflation of ideas into an unsustainable, unjustified, and misplaced object, where the idea of friendship gets completely removed from society because everyone just wants to be with this one other person and find fulfillment there in every aspect, but not anymore with their friends, with their family, with their colleagues, with their co workers, and their teachers and students anymore, which has led to many problems amongst those people, and which I think is worth examining in our society why this takes place and what are the root causes for this sort of idea and attitude towards conflating friendship into one person, sort of the ideal friend. Friendship is true love and is also the basis for a romantic relationship. So, a romantic relationship without friendship is very unstable, and friendship sort of takes these intrinsic instinctive urges, desires, and attachment and tries to civilize it. It tries to balance it out and tries to give it a hold, something that brings the you, that brings the we into the you and I that exists otherwise. So it is a substantial part. It is an essential part in a romantic relationship to have the other person be a good friend to us. There is also something that I've heard which struck me as quite interesting, namely that the Christian and the Hindu worldview are intrinsically in their theology against friendship because God says that you should treat and love everyone equally. Therefore, because you treat everyone equally, you cannot have people who are friends because otherwise everyone is your friend. Therefore, if everyone is your friend, nobody is your friend. So, friendship theologically doesn't really exist anymore in that. And maybe we can actually find some correlations or relationship or relation to this idea of the conflation of friendship into one other person, since in the Christian ideal we also have this idea that we have this personal relationship to one God without multiplicity, and that the most important relationship is that to God and to Jesus Christ. So we can think about that, whether this affects our culture and society from the ground up in its theological and philosophical roots since millennia in by now. Modern technology and the nation removed the need for friends. So by having all of these technological advances, by having all of this money, this social insurance, health insurance, by having all of the things that we can buy, and by having this infrastructure, we don't really need friends anymore because we can buy almost everything except for love. And so now today it has started that we have apps for finding friends, we have apps, so mobile applications for finding friends, romantic partners, for finding teachers, for finding recognition in friendships such as likes and dislikes and so on social media. And gradually, the relevance of friendship has decreased over time to the degree that we can say we do not really have a lot of need for friends and friendship. And finally, I would like to say friendship does not include control. Control is something that has to do with desire and not with love. And true friendship does obviously not include desire like that, it includes love. So, with that, I would like to just say one or two finishing sentences and then I will conclude. So, one thing obviously is that friendship is one of the fundamental parts of life. So, it is that which guides us through life, together with God, the good, and love in general, but love being best exemplified in friendship. So, there is almost no better type of relationship that we can have than friendship, which exemplifies and symbolizes and love. And where we can say that in friendship we can practice love. We can practice being a good lover, we can practice being a good person who loves, and we can practice receiving love and dealing and handling love for ourselves. And one of the things that worries me greatly is the way that friendship have devolved over the centuries, especially the last few, maybe decades, centuries, which is something that many more people have observed than me, and people have observed much more than I did, but which I find to be a dangerous trend, if this is a trend indeed, where we need to figure out what is it really that matters in life and what is it that people give meaning to and have purpose in, and friendship being one of them, one of the most meaningful things in life that we can have and experience. And it is not about the quantity of friendships but about the quality, about how well can we treat someone, what is it that makes us a good human being, maybe what is it that makes us a good friend. And so being a good friend may be seen as one of the highest virtues, only paralleled to being a good human in general, and where we need to work towards figuring out what a real friend is, what is a true friend, and what is true friendship, what is honest friendship, and therefore understanding true love as well. And finally, I would like to say that I would really welcome and appreciate feedback and criticism on this video, and I see you guys next time. Thank you.